However, I have to tell you that the Swedish Greens today are in mourning. Yesterday we received horrible news that Zaida Catalan, former spokesperson of the young Swedish Greens, lost her life in Congo-Kinshasa, where she worked for the UN investigating human rights abuses and war crimes. Zaida made an outstanding contribution to the Swedish Greens and to the Green movement globally. She was the bravest of persons. She became 36 years old. And I'd like to take this opportunity to honor Zaida with a minute of silence. Thank you. It has never, ever been more necessary to be green than now. As we gather here today, the world is facing enormous challenges. We have the climate crisis, increasing numbers of wars and conflicts, a rise in nationalism and racism, attacks on democracy, human rights and women's rights, attacks even on science and truth. Populism is on the rise. That is why we, the Greens, are more needed than ever. Our facts-based argumentation, our bold proposals of real change, and our vision of a really sustainable society where we're respectful of this planet, of animals, of future generations, and of all fellow human beings, that makes us the complete opposites of the populist movement. We see a drought in the Horn of Africa for the third year in a row now. People are dying. We see the Himalayan glaciers melting. We see extreme weather events and new records set all around the globe continuously. In Sweden this week, we had the warmest day on record ever of a day in March. For so many years, the Green movement has been warning the world that this should happen, and we fought for it not to happen. Our entire movement was created to address this blatant abuse of our planet. And for that, we have been called naive, unrealistic, dreamers. Our policy has been described as a threat to the economy, to businesses, to jobs, to people. But the thing is, we are not the dreamers. We are not unrealistic. It's those that believe that coal and nuclear and oil is the future, and infinite depletion of resources and accumulation of waste can go on forever. It's those who are dreaming. But it's time now for them to finally wake up. The great threat to our economies is not the green transition, it's not change, but it's business as usual. There is some good news, and that is that the world has woken up. The Paris Agreement is proof of that, although some big countries now are pressing the snooze button and wanting to dream on about coal and oil, but they're going to wake up and realize that things have already started to change. A transformation of our energy, our transport system, and ultimately our entire economy. Yes, Margaret, our economy, we're going to change it. You know that for the third year in a row, CO2 emissions globally actually have not increased, although the world's population and the economy have grown. That is hopeful. And a greener economy is not only more environmentally sustainable, it's also more equal. It's more peaceful. It's making energy locally owned, bringing people together, empowering communities. And to those that are talking about saving jobs in the coal industry, do you know that 43% of the people employed in the energy sector in the US are employed in solar? Only 22% work in oil, gas, and coal combined. Last year, more than half of the new power capacity in the world was renewable. And in Europe, It made up 90% of all the new power. Electricity from solar facilities are now as cheap or even cheaper than new coal-fired power plants. The green transition cannot be stopped by anyone, not even by a president. Martin Luther King, he didn't say, "I have a problem." He said, "I have a dream." So let's tell the world about our dream, our vision, our plan. But to make it really happen, we need more Greens in government. The Swedish government does not only have 6 Green ministers, which you see here behind me, it's also the first feminist government in the world. How do you know when something actually starts? A grain of sand is added to another grain of sand, and before you know it, you have a pile of sand in front of you. Those are the words of Auschwitz survivor Hedi Frid. Today she's 91 years old. She lives in Sweden. She continuously and tirelessly talks to young people about her experiences during the Second World War. But not only that, she also talks about what she sees today: increased racism, hatred, populist politicians, right-wing extremism, and increasingly aggressive campaigns of disinformation. She warns that this could rapidly turn into something very dangerous. But you have to see and recognize the growing pile of sand in front of you, not turn a blind eye. We must learn from history. In the 1920s and 30s, right-wing and fascist movements grew in many European countries. Those movements looked differently in different countries, but they all shared the same idea of ultranationalism. They argued that the nation was something sacred, which must be defended at all costs. Everything considered weak had to be removed, excluded from the nation. Those movements became more and more aggressive. They attacked people with other religions, ethnic minorities, LGBT people. They attacked artists, intellectuals, media. They attacked everything that disturbed their image of the perfect, pure nation. Italy first, Germany first. We all know how it ended. But how did it start? When did the grains of sand become a pile? Another survivor of the Holocaust, Emmerich Roth, he puts it like this: evil's greatest wish is to be let in and taken by the hand, for once inside and accepted, it can spread like a contagious epidemic. In Italy and Germany during the 20s and 30s, there were conservative parties that believed that they could cooperate with the fascists. They believed they could build alliances with them and win power and still push through their own policies. They let evil in and learned that it's impossible to tame a monster. Now we see how nationalist movements once again are emerging in country after country. Travel around the world and you hear the same message over and over again. America first, UK first, France first, Sweden first. Grains of sand are added to grains of sand. And when these extreme right-wing movements are invited in, values that we have taken for granted are questioned all of a sudden. Human rights, democracy, freedom of press, transparency, women's rights, and tolerance. We must learn from history. We must never let those movements in. Let us never forget the message from Hedi Frid and Emmerich Roth. And we need to mobilize. We need to get people actively engaged. The development in Europe and across the Atlantic is a harsh reminder that democracy isn't a given. Democracy is not a service that you can expect your politicians to deliver. It's something you have to participate in, because without the participation of people, democracy will not survive. But amidst all these worrying trends, there's also a yearning for something different, a longing for hope, for vision, for leadership. As I see it, we're at a crossroads, and we Greens offer a different way forward. Our movement is built on the understanding that we only have one planet and that we have to find a way to live sustainably within the boundaries of nature. Our movement is built on solidarity, not only with the people of the world, but also with future generations, with animals, and with nature. We stand for openness and freedom, not only of goods or trade, but of people. And we base our policies on facts. We cherish free research, free media, freedom of thought, and diversity. We believe in a better future for everyone. We stand for everything that the extremists hate. And this yearning for leadership became so clear 2 months ago when I signed the Swedish climate law and a tweet went viral. The overwhelming love that I received from all over the world was proof in itself. It also became clear a month ago when Sweden, together with Belgium and the Netherlands and Denmark, organized a conference in Brussels to raise funds for abortions and sexual and reproductive rights as a response to the US decision to cut this support. And in only 3 weeks, we managed to mobilize leaders from over 50 countries to come to Brussels and collect over 180 million euros. And it became clear in December last year when Europe got its first Green president, Alexander van der Bellen. And not least, it became clear 2 weeks ago when GroenLinks in the Netherlands went from 4 to 14 mandates in the election. And Jesse Klaver, the leader of GroenLinks, he explained the success story like this: stand for your principles, be straight, be pro-refugee, be pro-European. That's the message we have to send to Europe. You can stop populism. And it is true, we can stop populism, right-wing extremism and nationalism. In fact, we, the Greens, are a counterweight to them. When they see the world in black and white, we see it in all the colors of the rainbow. When they stand for fear, we stand for hope. And when they stand for hatred, we stand for love. But that shouldn't mean that we should be naive. We Greens cannot just talk about a better world, but we also must do everything in our power to really make change happen, because we really have no time to lose. Our challenges are imminent. We must act now and show every day that we can take concrete steps forward. Together, we are a powerful global movement. Our entire movement was created to address the very same challenges that the world is dealing with right now. And around the world, there's so many people who share our dreams, people who yearn to feel hope. People are longing for visions, longing for leadership, longing for a better planet. Never forget that we are many and that together we are strong. And here in Liverpool, I like to say, you'll never walk alone.